Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. This episode is proudly supported by True Protein. Use the code MindYourHead at the checkout to score $25 off your next order. Corey Ryan, welcome to Mind Your Head, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on today. I mentioned to you before that I'm watching a lot of your content and it resonates with me so much in terms of me wanting to become a father and raise children, and even the schooling program that you sort of chat about too, really resonates with me because a lot of those themes is something that I sort of went through when I was sort of growing up and going through school. So it's a pleasure to have you on today, mate, and I can't wait to get into it.
I am so stoked to be here, mate, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about what I do and who I'm trying to be and how I present myself, because I think it's important. So, I'm stoked. I'm stoked to be here. So
yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
First off, we're halfway through the year, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
How's the first half been of the year? Pretty hectic?
Yeah, it's been a good year for me. I set a goal at the start of the year. I just wanted to help as many people as I can, both at school and with the Be the Vibe Academy, which I'll talk, but also set a goal to really lock in and put myself out there a bit more, and that's why I'm here today. So it has been a big year. I'm the head teacher of wellbeing at my school. It's a big school. It's about 1,100 kids. So I pride myself on turning up every day and being present for the kids because they need it now more than ever. And it's just been a crazy start, but I love it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it.
So you're the head of wellbeing. That's something that wasn't around when I went to school. Is that a new thing in school and curriculum, having a wellbeing?
Well, since I started in 2010, it was at our school. It's been there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that's at the forefront of our school. Just because our kids come from very different backgrounds, a lot of broken families, situational stress, financial stress. So wellbeing's at the forefront of our school, and we do it well. So we've actually got a special Wallawani deck for the kids, and we have external agencies that come in and support the kids with their mental health because
it's amazing.
It's so important. Important. So it's something that I take pride in doing. So
yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
And I think the best place for us to start is probably at the start of your journey.
Yeah.
Do you want to walk me through your childhood, your upbringing?
For sure.
The highs and lows.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I will for sure. I think that's important. Everyone's got a story, but I guess my story's a little bit unique. But it's just like I had the best childhood in the world. My mum and dad raised me to be the best human that I could possibly be, and that's why I'm so overtly confident and happy with my life. But I know I could have gone down a rough road. I could have gone down that road of making some poor choices. My birth mum who raised me, or no, not necessarily raised me, my birth mum who gave birth to me, she was an ice addict at the time. She was in jail and she actually had to leave jail to give birth to me. And what happened was I was, the first 8 months of my life was a bit of a struggle. I wasn't really looked after or cared for. And so it was pretty tough, I guess. So as a baby to have that. But my mum and dad adopted me at the age of 8 months. And they just showed me nothing but love, affection, and showed me what it means to be a good person. And I guess that's why I'm on the path that I am now, because I have so much empathy, because I know there's a lot of kids out there that are struggling. And as I've got older, I've realised just how important family and connection is. And that's why I've started this academy, and that's why I've been in the PE teaching game for 15 years. So I was given a good life, I was sort of given a second chance. So, as I've got older, the old cliche of being grateful is something that's really profound to me. Like, I'm really grateful to be here now and to be able to share my journey and who I am. And that's why I'm just so, that's why I want to be here today. I don't know what I'm saying there. That's why I want to be able to share my story and inspire people to be the vibe. Yeah.
What were some of the sort of emotional impacts of being born to a mother that was addicted to ice, like in terms of physically, emotionally, mentally? Like, does it still resonate with you today? So
it's a good question. So growing up with my mum and dad who raised me, it never felt like I was adopted.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, no.
What?
So that's my honest take on that. So when I reflect on what I went through, I didn't really feel the profound effects of that emotionally or physically, because I guess it's just the perfect case of nature versus nurture. My mum and dad nurtured me and gave me every opportunity to be the best version of myself. So it didn't really have a profound impact on my mindset moving forward. It only had a profound impact on how grateful I am to be here today. So
do you remember the first 8 months? I don't imagine you would. So when did you find out all that stuff about your birth mum and I guess your family history?
My mum and dad, open books, really honest with me. So they just told me, I think I was in kindergarten when they told me, because, you start to have these dialogues and these conversations. And I think I was just a young, naive, sick, I'm adopted, how good's that, And then I guess, as you get older, you start to realise, oh, wow, this is kind of a real situation. Like mum and dad sort of raised me and they've shaped me to be the person I am today. So I was very grateful to know straight away. And I guess mum and dad were really good at knowing that I'm not different. I'm just like anyone else. So even though I am adopted, I've got a brother and sister, and I'm part of the family. You know what I mean? I never felt different. So I guess that's why I have lived the life that I'm living today. So I'm very grateful for that.
Is there any connection at all with your birth mum? I don't know.
That's a good question. So
is it worth it? I'm not too sure.
No. Yeah, she's passed away.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Sorry.
And the reason why I'm not overtly upset about that is because I wasn't connected to her. You know what I mean? So it's sad because you do hear stories. I heard stories that she was a vibrant, confident, human, and she was cool and she was kind, but she just made some poor choices that led her to a dark path. And so it's sad. It's very, very sad. And I have no idea who my birth dad is. I have no idea. He's out there somewhere. He could have passed away. I got no idea. So the story is he could be Scandinavian or he could be Swedish or something. And he's just out there living his life.
Does that bother you at all?
No, it doesn't, mate. It doesn't. I guess because my mum.
I guess your upbringing was so amazing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're your mum and dad.
Yeah, it's a unique upbringing, of course. Yeah. But my mum and dad are my mum and dad. You know what I mean? Like, I never felt like I was adopted. But just when you look back at the story, it's kind of unique and it's kind of crazy to think I've got people out there that I'm related to that I have no idea.
No idea about.
But yeah, it's crazy,
isn't it?
Yeah.
When did this sort of healing journey start for you? Like. Were there any you mentioned before that you could have had some poor choices, could have gone a different road, down a different path. What was it like during that time?
Yeah, well, like when I reflect on my time, I just it wasn't really a healing moment for me. It was kind of just like this is who I am, and this is the story that I have, and I just owned it. And it wasn't necessarily a sense of healing. It was just like, hey, this is who I am. This is it. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful that it wasn't a healing moment for me, because it was just like my mum and dad were just there, and it was just never felt like I was different. You know what I mean? Yeah. I always felt like I was unique. I always felt like I was destined to do more in this world, and I talk about that. I said that to my wife a lot, and she'd always back me. But but yeah, that's,
how did you meet your wife?
It's a good question. It's a great question, mate. She's gonna. Yeah. So
is there a truth and there's a
there's a full truth.
Truth. Yeah.
It was pretty funny. So she was school captain at my school that I went to when I was in year 8 with the boys. No, year 7 with the boys, and she was school captain. So that age bracket there is a bit different. But I always G'd up. She was a school captain, and I was playing handball with the boys. And then as you get older, the age gap doesn't mean anything. So I was just pouring beers at the local pub in Huskisson when I was about 22, and I think she was 26 at the time, so there's not much of an age bracket. And then we started hanging out over summer, and and very grateful that my wife, yeah, she's unbelievable. She's an unbelievable mother. She's an unbelievable teacher. She shaped me to be the person I am today. She's going to hate me saying this, but it's the ultimate truth. Like everything that I've done and everything that I've achieved is because of her belief, and she believed in me. And all these dreams that I had to go on reality TV, which I'll talk about, she knew I was going to do it, and she backed me. And so my wife she's just the ultimate supporter, and she is the best mum to our girls. She's just unbelievable, and she's shaped me to be the person I am today, and shaped me to be the best teacher that I can be, and I owe everything to her, and I'm very grateful that she's even given me the opportunity to come here to talk about my life and who I am. And I told her about it. She's like, "Yeah, go do it." Like she's amazing.
This
she's
the ultimate number one fan.
Oh, she's the best.
Yeah.
But then even so, like she's my biggest supporter. But then she's always good to rein me in.
Yeah,
she'll rein me in and say, "Nah, don't." You know what I mean? Like she's just she can criticize me as well, and I need that because I'm just like, go, positive. She's like, rein it in. But then she backs me as well. So it's perfect balance. I am everything. I am who I am because of her, I think, and I owe a lot to her and my mum and dad, but mainly her, because we've been together for the last...
I was going to ask you.
14 years.
Incredible.
Yeah, 14 years. So
what's the secret?
I guess we both have the same passions.
Yeah,
we're both teachers.
Aligned in the same values.
We're both aligned in the same values. We both love sport. She played. She was a really good swimmer. She was a really good state netballer. Yeah. I was pretty good at soccer. I played for New South Wales at soccer. So I guess it was just the stars aligned. And but yeah, with same interests, same goals, same everything. So that's the secret, I think. But I don't want to place too much emphasis on this. I'm a pretty spiritual sort of dude.
Yeah.
I like the Chinese zodiac. So if you look at the compatibility of the Chinese zodiac, she's born in 84. She's year of the rat, and I'm 88, year of the dragon, and that's the highest compatibility.
The rat and the dragon.
Rat and the dragon. Yeah, highest compatibility. So. So I don't know, you don't want to place too much emphasis on that, but that's, it just seems to work. It seems to work well. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
What values and I guess teachings did you learn from your mum and dad, and how that influenced you to you being a father yourself?
Yeah.
I guess in terms of empathy and giving you a second chance. And
my mum, just strong. She looked after me. She cared for me. But I spent a lot of time with my dad growing up. Spent a lot of time. I played soccer at a high level. So we're traveling across New South Wales a lot, and we're doing a lot of, sport together. And my dad was one of the guys who showed a lot of empathy and a lot of love and a lot of kindness. And they say your life's a mirror. So what you put out, you get back. And I just saw me dad just be a gentle soul and a good human to everyone. And those facets that he had in his life has shaped me to be the person I am today. And he used to run a huge company. It was dairy farmers at the time. And he used to let me come through the factory, and he had to look after maybe over 200 to 300 workers. And every time he walked in there, everyone come up to him, and he looked after him, and he was present, and he was kind, and he was just
cared. He genuinely cared.
He genuinely cared.
Yeah.
And he obviously cared because he adopted me, you know what I mean? And there's something I want to share too. My birth name was Robin Oakley. That was my birth name. And Mum and Dad was flipping through the name book, and whatever the name book said, it said Corey, and Corey meant the chosen one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they chose me.
Yeah. And, I love that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I've always thought that in the back of my mind, like the chosen one, how cool is that, and but further to that, my old man he's strong, but he's kind, and everything that I am in terms of my attributes and how I teach and how I see the world is through him. So that's why I have a lot of empathy, and that's why I am that guy that, I love sport, but then I love being good to people. You know what I mean?
Everything that you needed at that time, he was.
Of course.
Well, they both were.
Yeah, both were. So I spent a lot of time with Dad growing up, but even Mum, she's just kind, loving, caring, and just good humans.
Do you sometimes think back and think how unlucky that situation was that I was adopted, but how lucky I was to be adopted by by those two incredible humans.
So lucky.
So lucky.
So lucky because you hear of stories where people get adopted into families and they don't look after them and they don't care for them.
I don't know what the system's like. I don't know how, not trustworthy, but I don't know sort of where the kids sort of end up.
Yeah.
And for you to be adopted by two incredible human beings.
Oh, mate, so grateful.
So grateful.
And I have heard stories where people do get adopted and the parents or whoever adopted them, look, they don't connect with them and they don't support them. And it's not the case for everyone, but my case is like, no, like I was, and I look back on my life, just how lucky I am to be loved and supported unconditionally. You know what I mean? So
I'm sure there wasn't one moment where you didn't think you were legitimately part of the family. Like you weren't adopted. It was like,
there was no talks of like you're adopted. It was just like you are one of us. You're a Ryan, and that's it. And that's something to that I'll reflect back on and go, wow, like how lucky I was to be raised
by such good role models.
By good role models and good people. So, and that's put me on the career trajectory of being a teacher.
And you mentioned sort of your partner plays sport. You played high level sport.
Yeah,
we had a little chat off air then that was my childhood too. That sport was my safe haven. Sport was my place where I didn't feel like a loser. I didn't feel unwanted. I got a little bit of attention. I got that satisfaction of getting that validation that I was always seeking, especially as a young adolescent teen going through that puberty time. And what was sport like for you? Was that the same sort of thing for you? How did you sort of gravitate towards sport, and what did playing sport mean to you?
Mate, sport's everything.
Yeah.
That's why I've started the academy, Be the Vibe. It's the Sports and Resilience Academy, which we'll talk about. But sport shaped me to be who I am. Sport teaches you to lose. Sport teaches you to show resilience. Sport teaches you everything. So when I grew up, I played sport at a high level, and I had an opportunity to play for N-Swiss, and unfortunately I didn't get picked. And it was sort of like a defining moment for me, like, wow, like, you have to bounce back and you have to keep playing. So I think sport brings everyone together and it just connects people. And the way I see it, sport is the best way to release dopamine and serotonin because it makes you feel happy. And it's so important that even if you don't like sport and you're a kid and you go for a walk, go in nature, go walk along the beach because it just makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Like being active makes you feel good. Go for a run. That's the best way to release serotonin and dopamine. And I just think that's so important. And my wife played at a high level. And it just teaches you to lose. Sport teaches you to lose.
Well, how important it is.
Yeah. You
tell me how important it is for kids to know what it feels like to lose.
So this is a tough one to talk about. It is tough.
In a world where it's all participation medals and everyone gets a trophy, even if you're coming last, everyone gets a trophy. There's always I've read so many studies about how detrimental that actually is.
For sure.
And in life, to succeed, everyone's got to lose.
You have to.
But at the moment now, it feels like we want all the kids to win, to succeed, to win. And then you get out into the real world and there's far more losses than there is wins.
You're setting kids up for failure.
Yeah. Is that what you think? Is that what it feels like?
I totally agree. So I've got to be careful with what I say here because with the academy, I'll talk about kindness and positivity and resilience. I'll talk about resilience.
But losing is being resilient.
Losing is resilience. Yeah. So if kids need to learn to lose and they need to be familiar with losing at a young age because like you said, when they get into the big bad world, the real world, you lose all the time. And you can't wrap kids in cotton wool and say they're a winner all the time because you're setting them up for failure. You can't do that, mate. So I'll share a real world example. My daughter, legend, like I love her, Ava. She won the school swimming carnival. She won the district zone carnival. And she went to regional and she got, I think, 7th out of 40. And then I remember I got up, good swim. She goes, I feel funny in my tummy. Like, I feel funny. And I said, what's up? Why? And she's like, I didn't win. I said, darling, that's life. You have to accept it. I said, and she's like, well, next year I want to win. I said, well, you know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to start squatting. You're going to have to do training because she's naturally quite a good swimmer. I said, you're going to have to do training. She said, yeah, I'm going to do some training. And then so, I had to teach her that that's life. And she learned that at a young age, at 8 years old.
It's incredible, man, because losing's the precursor to working harder and getting better. So we need that like it's necessity, and as much as I don't, as much as I don't like it when it happens, that suffering, the losses, the pain, the letdowns, all the setbacks.
Yep.
We need them in our lives. To push us forward, to help us grow, to elevate us on that ascend in life.
For sure.
Because without it, it's.
I totally agree. So like anyone that's done anything great in this world, it's not that. And that's what I teach them at the academy. So people I look up to as athletes like Michael Jordan, Conor McGregor, and all those people, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, they're all my heroes. Like it wasn't like that for them. They've had injuries, they've had setbacks, and I feel like, you know, what social media does, it paints this world where, you know, you can do anything and have anything really quick. That's not the case.
That instant gratification.
It's not the case. You've got to work hard. And that's something I'm realising as I get older, like just how important it is to, if you really want to do something, you've got to accept the fact it's not always going to go your way. And 90% it's how you react to certain situations. And if things don't go your way and you sort of quit and that, you didn't really want it, did you? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You didn't really want it.
How bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it, mate?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I actually found out that helped me playing sport was actually regulating my own emotions.
For sure.
You know, I felt like when I wasn't playing sport, it was very hard for me to let out either anger or in a healthy way or frustration. But in sport, I could just release it all.
Wow.
And it was almost like I didn't realize this at the time, but every time I finished playing, I was physically tired, but I was actually like mentally, emotionally sort of drained because I was competing at trying my hardest, letting it all out. And it was almost like a therapy session where you just felt like, like a sense of release. Like I don't have this, the thoughts or whatever it is that was playing in my mind. Everything's done. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like everything's gone. Like, do you find that as well? Like,
so I guess in terms of regulating my emotions, I had a father that taught me how to regulate my emotions.
Did he?
Yeah, he taught me that kindness always wins.
Yeah.
And one thing he always taught me is do everything with a good heart and expect nothing in return. And that's something I live by. So, I just go out of my way to be good to people, and if they're not good to me, then that's on them. That's their emotions. That's how they think. So, don't let everyone have it over you. I'm very confident. I'm pretty assertive too, but I'll go out of my way to be good to everyone, anyone I meet. You know what I mean? So
that's a wonderful lesson, because in today's society, it's so often like, I've done something nice for you, do something nice for me.
Yeah.
But I think the joy in it and the real peace in it is like, it doesn't matter what you get in return.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about what you sort of give.
Yeah. And that's what my old man taught me. Just do everything with a good heart and expect nothing in return. And so that's why, if let's just say I'll be good to you and I buy you, I look after you or whatever, and you don't reciprocate. Well, that's on you. That's you know what I mean. I know I've done everything in my internal dialogue says I'm a good person, and that's why I can regulate my emotions well, because my old man taught me that. You know what I mean?
Did was there ever a dream to take sport to the next level?
Yeah,
was
of course, mate.
What was the dream? Tell me the dream.
Oh, mate, famous soccer player.
Really?
Of course. I played for New South Wales. I was actually pretty good. I was very left winger, left foot. I used to bang goals, score goals, and that was the dream. I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to be the next Harry Kewell, and I had people saying, you could be the next Harry Kewell, and you believe it. Yeah. But the case of injuries,
was it
knees, ACLs and stuff like that, and but in saying that, you have to have a different level of mentality to make it as a soccer player. I think I read somewhere 1 in every 10,000 soccer players in Australia make it.
It's ridiculous.
So it's tough. It's very, very hard. So you have to have that next level mindset. And I'll be honest, I didn't have it.
Did you witness it? Like when you get in those high level environments, because I remember like being in an environment with a couple of like ex-All Blacks or sort of, should I say, they weren't All Blacks then, but they went on to be All Blacks, and I saw them at a younger age, and I've been in environments with them, and I remember just thinking, my God, like I thought I either was a good trainer or a good player, or like I had my skill set down pat, and then you'd still be around these young fellas that go on to play for New Zealand, play for Australia, whatever it is, and you look back and go, they're on another level. Like they were just like, even not just their natural talent, but their desire to get better, the train. Like I'd wake up at a house and we'd have like all the footy players in the house, and I'd wake up in the morning and the oval was sort of behind the house. I could see it from the kitchen, and there's already people there, like guys running, getting their laps in, getting the sprints in, doing their cardio. Yeah. And I would have been 20 at the time or something, and I was thinking, wow, they're doing that on a Sunday. Like no one's watching, no one's telling him to do that. They got their own, like in their own head, they're like, I want to get out of bed and I want to go do this. Yeah. Did you sort of like witness sort of moments where you just thought, oh yeah, these?
Yeah, of course, it's next level. Yeah. So I was a South Coast boy, and then so when I had to trial for NSWIS, New South Wales Institute, you're just playing with better caliber players, and I probably could have mixed it up with them, but it's just next level. So conversely to what you're saying, the athletes that I look up to, and obviously Conor McGregor's made some poor choices now, but he's someone I generally looked up to. He's 2012 to 2017 era. And
was unstoppable.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And he says something like, I'm Vincent van Gogh. To be the best in this game, you have to lose your mind in the process. He's just obsessed with winning. He's obsessed with being. And then you look at Michael Jordan. Like the expectations he had on his players to be to the next level. Like the players feared him. Yeah,
they thought he was an asshole.
Yeah.
But he won. He's like, he's a winner though. Like,
he's a winner. That was his mentality. He's like 6 times MVP, 6 championships. Like.
He's like, what do you say? Like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to make you a winner.
Yeah,
and it always makes me wonder though. I don't know if you think about this too. It's like, can you be both?
Yeah, it's very hard.
Can you be, an absolute ruthless winner, and push your players to the absolute limit, but also have a relationship with them where you're friendly? Yeah, because you're putting your standards on them too, which is obviously raising them up into your level. Can there be like a balance where you're? Yeah, well, can you be mates?
I like to think in a world there is, but you look at the best.
Look at the best.
Look at Kobe. He was very similar with his mindset. Maybe that is the key to.
Is that the cost?
Maybe that's the cost.
That's the payoff of like, do you want to be at this level? Well, there's got to come with the cost of it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I pride myself on being good to people and being around people, but I guess when you look at Jordan and Kobe, look at the stratospheric heights they reached, and they had to sacrifice friendship to be the best. It's actually quite fascinating.
It is quite fascinating. The mindset around that it fascinates me a lot.
It'd be good to do some research on. Can you just be an absolute winner and a bad person, but be good to people? Maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah. And me and my mate have saunas and all the time, and I don't know what happens when you get to the sauna and that heat and all these thoughts and the conversations that start flowing. I think everyone's got their sort of walls down. Everyone's trying to survive in the heat, so all these conversations start flowing. And
100%.
And an interesting conversation that got brought up the other day when we were in there was, I saw something. It was like to get. If a father wants to, a parent wants to get their children to succeed, there needs to be a right amount of trauma and the right amount of motivation for them to want to succeed, because they're either trying to prove someone wrong, or they're kind of, my parents didn't give me this, so I'm trying to like get that attention, or they're trying to work harder. There's always like that little bit of suffering or a traumatic childhood that almost pushes that child to be an absolute champion.
For sure. And some of the best athletes have gone through trauma and gone through in their lives, and you take your hat off to that. And a lot of kids that tend to do well, they've gone through something and they've gone the other side, and when they go through that trauma and they're on the training field and they're being the best athlete, that's easy because of what they're going through.
It's what their childhood they're going through.
Yeah. So that's a fascinating point that you raised, because you have a kid who's had the best life, and and they've got everything that handed to them on a platter. Do they end up going on to be the best athletes? Maybe there probably is cases, but I feel like what you're trying to say is like you have to go through struggle as a kid or a teenager to see it, to get to the other side. Because when you get to the stratospheric heights, that's easy. Training's easy because you go through, and it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does, mate. It does.
Especially when I want to be, a father, and I talk about sort of my dad had a terrible childhood, and I've sort of spoken about it before, and he wanted to make more of his life. Like, he knew that he had a terrible childhood, but he same as you, he thought, he was meant for more, and he had such good potential. He's a really good learner. And learning's a skill in itself. Learning how to learn. Yeah, of course. My dad is so good at picking things up and teaching himself how to learn things, and wow. He even thought about it like he had more to offer in this world, and yeah, it's amazing to see where he sort of ended up, and his childhood was just so terrible.
Yeah.
But the way he's, you know, come back from that and didn't want that to be his identity.
Yeah.
And everything like he does, like I look up to him so much because he's just like, oh, well, what are you doing today, Dad? And he's like teaching himself how to paint, or he's gonna like,
wow.
He's retired now, so he's gonna like teach himself how to weld and do like welding art.
See, that's amazing.
And I'm like, and he goes, but once you learn how to learn and know how to learn, you can sort of use that blueprint to sort of other things in life and teach yourself other things.
And that's I think that's just so important to learn and evolve as a person, and that's what your dad's trying to do. Because if you look at a lot of people that retire, you know, and we'll touch on social media. A lot of older people are getting used to using iPads and phones, and that's not good for your brain. So you know, I wonder why Alzheimer's and dementia's increased. So kudos to your dad, mate, because he's doing things that you know, firing different parts of the brain. So that's so important because so my mum and dad, they're semi-retired, but they're out gardening, doing stuff all the time. They're walking, they're staying motivated, staying active, and I think that's so important because you don't want to become stagnant.
No, and I tell this story a couple of times to my friends. I go see the chiropractor every fortnight when I come back from work, just the rough roads out in the mines, just to straighten everything up. And there's a guy who's he's 81 years old, right? And every time I see him, I don't see him all the time, but sort of our appointments semi-line up, and he's either in before me or in after me, and we sort of have a little bit of a chat. And he rides his canoe, one-man canoe from Mooloolaba. I don't know if you've been to the sunny coast much, but some of my listeners, from Mooloolaba to there's Old Woman Island out there, which is sort of near Majimba, Mount Coolum. And it is, I don't know how many Ks it is, I should look it up, but it is a long way, right? He's 81 years old. He does it, you know, 3 or 4 times a week. And like you look at him and he kind of looks oldish, but he's just lean, he's fit. And I was like, so what's next on the plan, mate? Because he just got back from a bike tour in Europe where there's a guide and there's a bunch of people and you just ride through different countries. I think my brother did it in Vietnam. You sort of go through a few countries. He did it in Europe at 81 years old. And the people, he was telling me the company had to ask him to get a medical release from a doctor to make sure that you're able to do this. And the doctor's like, yeah, mate, he's 81, but he's fit. He's ready to go.
Wow.
So he was the oldest one to do it. They gave him clearance to do it. And he was riding through countries in Europe on a bike with this bunch of tours, and they stop off at different destinations. And I was like, so what's next on the thing? He goes, oh, I'm doing
what a legend.
I'm doing this bloody canoe, like this race around Hawaii where it's like, you know, kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. And I'm like, how the hell, like, no offense, but how the hell do you keep doing this?
Yeah.
And he goes, you want to know the secret? I go, tell me the secret. He goes, don't ever stop.
Yeah, right.
I go, really? He goes, do not ever stop. Like, whatever it is, like, there's no excuse to stop exercising just because you're getting older.
Yeah.
He goes, it's more of a reason to keep doing something. So he's like, even if it goes back to, you know, once, twice, 3 times a week, whatever it is, he goes, do not stop, because as soon as you stop, it's so hard to get going again.
Wow.
And your body starts breaking down. So he's like, I haven't stopped since I was 16, and that's the secret. And he's like, I'll keep doing something until I can't do anything anymore. And I go see, and then I pop in to see the chiropractor. I was like, yeah, old mate, like doing that fucking canoe from Mooloolaba to like, and then that bloody bike ride in Europe. He goes, do you want to hear a harder truth? I go, what's that? He goes, before you came in and was like getting treated by us, your first time in, he had a better body than yours. I go, what do you mean? And he was like, what? His body was in better condition than your body was. I go, there's like a 60-year age gap. And he was like, yeah, his back was better than your back. Your neck was too stiff. Your lower back was too stiff.
Wow.
Like I'm telling you, like, he's got the body of a 40-year-old. That's why he can sort of keep doing it, because he looks after himself. He eats the right food. He's doing the exercising.
That is so good. And that's the fact is, health is wealth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be around here longer, like, if you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah. So you got to stay active. You got to stay motivated and be active. So that's so important. I think that's like
something I learned from him, is just like, have your health as your number one priority. Yeah, like, I know in life that it can be so hard sometimes to, you know, put anything above either your family, your friends, or anyone else.
Yeah.
But having like that pillar of your health being number one, that that influences you as a father, or as you as a husband, or you as a friend, or a son, whatever it is.
For sure.
That's like your number one thing, because as soon as you don't put that, everything starts going downhill. Yep. And it's only a matter of time before something gives, and then you can't be the best father, or you can't be the best husband. So
totally.
He was like, health number one. Like, and I'm like, really? He goes, above all. He goes, above my wife. I've been with her for like 60 years, 70 years, above her.
Wow.
And I'm like, really? He goes, well, if she's above me, I start getting sick, I can't look after myself, everything goes down. So especially at this age, he's like, my health is number one. So I get good sleep, I drink good water, I eat good food, I get good exercise, good sunlight. And I get to be the best version of myself for her as well.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, that's incredible.
Well, exactly right. Like, you look at the dimensions of health: physical, social, emotional, mental. Like, and I have this debate with the kids, and they all, a lot of them say physical health, because if I exercise 3 to 4 days a week, and I look good and I feel good, it's going to make me confident. I'm going to be mentally more stable. I'm going to be more sociable,
more outgoing,
more confident. So if you feel like you look good on the outside, then it's going to make you feel good. So that's so important that you say the physical health is so important.
Yeah. Did you I don't want to say change subjects, but did you ever go through your own mental health struggles? I know that you had such an amazing upbringing in childhood. Were there moments where you really struggled with your mental health?
That's a good question. So, like, everyone has problems in their life, and I was talking to my wife about it, and she says to me, "You're very lucky that you've never really experienced trauma, and you never really experienced mental health problems." And but I guess it comes down to identity. You know what I mean? And knowing who you are internally. And I knew since I was like 8 years old, I wanted to be a PE teacher, and that's what I wanted to do. Really? And that was my career trajectory.
From 8-year-old?
8-year-old. I want to play sport. I want to be able to mingle with kids. I want to be able to help kids. I knew straight away. I asked mum and dad, they're like, that's what you want to do.
I love that.
Do it.
Yeah.
So I guess, the struggles that I had maybe was moving away. I struggled a bit financially, and I guess it's a tough one, because I know people have mental health problems, and I can't be arrogant and say that I haven't gone through mental health problems, but I've had ups and downs. But I'm just very lucky that I had a good support network in place, that I did play sport, that I've surrounded myself with good people. I had a mum and dad that supported me. But I can't say that I've had those real depressive moments where I just don't want to live anymore. I've never had that. But I guess that's why I'm so passionate. I have a lot of empathy, and I understand that people do go through those problems, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping as many people as I can. And I think it comes down to identity and knowing who you are, and a lot of people don't know who they are and who they set out to be.
How do you find out who you are? Because that's a question that if a question that scares me still today, and it scares me in terms of, how do I answer that?
It's a tough one.
When someone says, Elliot, who are you? You could say, I'm Elliot. Well, that's a name. Well, well, that's just an age. Like, I have a job. Well, that's just a job that you do. Like, everything's so sort of made up. Humans make up so much sort of things to put labels on us.
Yep.
And I don't want to put you under under pressure, but in terms of like knowing who you are and finding out your identity, where do you start?
It's a good question, and I can only talk about my life experience. So this is like something that you got to learn about yourself. You got to learn about yourself and know who you are internally. And we'll talk on the reality show, but that I went on, I worked out who I was on that show.
Why on that show do you think? Adversity?
Yeah. So I'll share a story.
Yeah.
So I've always prided myself on being the happiest, most positive person in the room. And in this day and age, kids need that more than ever. So I know that any kid that I've taught, they love being in my classroom. They love my energy. They love my enthusiasm. And despite the teaching demands and teaching loads and how hard it is to be a teacher, I just ignore that, because I know it's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of teachers out there struggling, but I know kids need me. They need my energy. They need my enthusiasm. They need my positivity now more than ever. So I was given the opportunity to go on a reality show, right? And it was probably the hardest environment ever. So sleep deprivation, probably slept 2 or 3 hours a day. There was no food. So I lost 16 kilos. It was the toughest experience of my life. There was 100 random people on the island. So you had to form connections and bonds. And there was a moment in the game where we had a camp v camp challenge. And what happened was you had bracelets, right? And the more bracelets you had, the more likely you are to, the richer you are on the island, the better you are to prepare yourself in the game. So we had a Camp v Camp challenge. And then our camp won, which was great. We had no food, but we won. And then the other camp had to they had to give their bracelets to someone who they thought was worthy enough to get those bracelets. And funnily enough, there was about a lot of them gave me the bracelets. They gave it to me, and I had an epiphany and I had a moment. This is why I need to start this academy, because in that environment where everyone was sleep deprived, food deprived, and it was like a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. You're fighting for $1 million. It was tough. All those guys decided to give me their bracelet. And one thing I realized 2 days before I got that bracelet, I wasn't getting much airtime, but I didn't care. I was in Malaysia for all expenses paid trip. I was doing me girls proud. And this guy next to me, he's like, mate, I'm so annoyed. I'm not getting the airtime and I'm not doing this. And I just looked and said, that's all good, man. We'll be right. This is fun, mate. What an experience. So I have an inept ability to be present and just be content with what's in front of me. And I was food deprived, sleep deprived, but I was mingling and I was having fun. I was having a good time. And the reason why I got those bracelets was because I was present in the moment and I was just being kind and positive and resilient and just embracing the moment. And then I had an epiphany. And then after that, I realized that I am a pretty special guy. I think I've got more to give. And that was when on the boat ride from Malaysia back to the campsite, I said, I'm going to start this academy. I'm going to do it because I think the world needs it. The kids need it. And the reason why I had an identity moment then was because I realized that, I am a really present, strong human and there's a lot of kids out there struggling. So that's why I started this academy, and that's my identity is these values.
Yeah, I love that.
And I've been kind my whole life. I've been positive my whole life, despite the struggles that teachers face today. I turn up every day and I'm positive, and I embrace it. I love my job.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's high-fiving kids in the hallway and saying, hey, have a good day. Yeah. That's why I'm the head teacher of wellbeing. And then resilience is a part of life, and that's why kids don't have a lot of resilience. So it was from that moment, given that opportunity to be in it was the toughest environment. It was hard, 40 degrees, and it dropped down to like 12 degrees at night. It was tough. But in that moment, they decided to give me the bracelets, and that was when I went, you know what? I've got to do this.
I think that's a testament to you too, because even in like such an uncomfortable situation and environment, and there's so much, outside stresses, it didn't influence you not to be yourself. Yeah. In a world where it can be so easy to crack the shits or get frustrated or just say, oh, fuck this, get over it. It almost reinforced your own core values.
For sure.
And made you more authentic and more genuine and more yourself. For sure.
Yeah. And it was don't get me wrong, mate. And I met some brilliant people, some fascinating people, and some really cool people that were like, had a lot of followers on Instagram and stuff like that. And just one thing that I've realised as I've got older is, at the time I was a 34-year-old dude from the South Coast. I'm just doing my girls proud. My wife wants me to be here. So I was just so present. And one thing, and I know it's cliche, comparison is a thief of joy. So like there was guys that were big and muscly and strong, and there was super smart, intelligent people. There was doctors. There was like cool lawyers and cool people, but it doesn't make me, you know what I mean? I just embraced it.
Was there ever a moment of imposter syndrome where you're thinking, why the hell am I here?
Nah.
You've never experienced that?
No.
I love that.
I think what we need to do more, and this is what I honestly do, and my wife agrees with me, so I don't want to sound arrogant when I say that, because you are. If I see someone doing something good, I celebrate it. Yeah. Like I've had a good mate of mine who's opened up a cool brewery, and I celebrate that. And I see mates that do well, I celebrate it. So I think the more you celebrate other people, the better you feel about yourself. And I've never really had to say, I want that, I want this. I'm just who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like the world needs to see more of that. You need to celebrate more people. And, we live in a world where tall poppy syndrome. Yeah. People love to bring people down.
They love to see you rise up, but if you rise too high, it's like, hang on a second.
Let's Let's rein them in a bit.
Let's rein them in a bit.
Yeah,
and I hate that too.
Yeah, and I'm trying to teach that to the boys. I said, don't scroll through social media comments when people are undermining people. A good story I like to share is like Nathan Cleary, probably, in my opinion, is probably going to go down as one of the greatest halfbacks of all time.
It's hard to argue.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue that.
Look what
he's
done.
Still young.
Like four premierships, 2 Clive Churchills. He's won State of Origin series. He's won a World Cup for Australia.
Yeah.
And there was a clip, Cohen Hess jammed him maybe 2 months ago.
Seen it.
Just
smacked him.
Whacked him, right? And then they posted that on social media, and the comments saying, done the whole of New South Wales a favour, like, look at his chin, and just undermine it. And I feel like we live in a world where social media, like comments and negative comments, it's not right. That's what I think. So I'm trying to teach young lads to don't be that guy that undermines others because they're really good. Because when you look at it, Nathan Cleary's probably one of the best halfbacks ever. He's going to be, in my opinion.
You look like more of an idiot commenting on that stuff. You do. Because what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've had a lot of like sport people come on, especially NRL, and it's the weirdest thing to me when someone comments on someone's work and says you're shit. I'm like, well, what's your job? All right, you work at Macca's. I want to come to your Macca's spot and just go, you're shit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like,
for sure.
And like even the death threats I love that the players are actually exposing these people now because it's illegal. You shouldn't be doing death threats, anything like that over a game of footy. You fuck my multi.
Yeah.
Who cares about you having a gambling addiction?
Oh, for sure.
Like, you should be looking at that gambling addiction, not at that player.
For sure.
Like, and it's just bizarre to me that there's so much, negativity around this, especially in NRL. I'm sure it happens in all sports, but especially in the NRL where there's just so much negative bullshit over a game that's 80 minutes.
100%.
That's meant to be for fun, and everyone are losing their minds over it. That I understand that there's passion, and I love that it brings people together, and I love that there's rivalries, and we all get that. But I think at the moment it's crossing the line where these people think it's a right to say hurtful messages. I know Lachie Neale, who plays in the AFL for the Brisbane Lions, he went on a podcast and he was like, we got he had to go to the police because they got death threats, not against him, against his family, saying we wish your family would die in a car accident or something like that. And he's thinking, all I do is play AFL. And we lost the game and I didn't play well. And that's what we deserve. Like, that's what we cop. Like,
for sure.
There needs to be some sort of restrictions or monitoring around joining social media, making sure there's no, unknown accounts that you can't trace. Like, there needs to be some sort of, restrictions around that because
has to be.
It's getting out of control.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to teach boys, that don't be that guy that undermines someone for like you said, doing something they're passionate about. And like you said, I love competition. I love it, and I love people rising and being the best version of that they can be, but don't undermine them on social media. And I think it's too common, mate. It's too common. Like, people love to bring people down, and I know that's part of life. You have to show resilience, but to ridicule someone online, and what I say to the boys, I don't use the word loser. I don't. But you are the biggest loser if you go out of your way to type a negative comment about a famous athlete or anyone who might be trying to do something good in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're a loser.
Yeah.
Proper. And they have to be called out.
Yeah, you have to be called out because
you're
it's getting
loser,
out of control.
Mate.
Yeah. Something that I noticed when I was watching one of your clips was that you gave up drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Because I went through my own journey with that, and at the moment I think I'm about 18 months sober.
Yep.
And I went through my own battles with alcohol, not so much alcohol, but it was a lot of drug abuse from about 19 to, I stopped taking drugs at 29, stopped drinking at 32. So I went through my own struggles with it, and alcohol, I wasn't much of a big drinker, but I found that drinking was my gateway to doing drugs. That was sort of my release, and my walls would go down, and then my decision-making would go down, and then, fuck it, I'll just go do this. And before you know it, there's been 2 or 3 day benders, and then you continue out for 10 years, and then you just think you're a worthless piece of shit, to be honest. That's how I felt.
Yep.
And I wish I did this sooner, but, me getting sober from everything was one of the best decisions I've ever made. In terms of my whole mental health and having that, I would always like drink, and then the next day I just feel like why did you do that? You know that you don't like it. You know that it's bad for you. Why do you keep doing it? Yeah, you had fun, but like you can have fun sober. Like it wasn't the best night of your life. Why do you keep thinking that you're going to recreate the best night of your life on the drink when it's not? It's just not a waste. You hang out with your mates, but it's just like, why do you keep doing it for?
For sure.
And I started getting really down on myself, and I knew that it wasn't good for me. And then I was like, you know what? Like for me, it was showing that I actually don't have respect for myself, you know? And I was like, you know what? Like if you're going to preach this thing, if you're going to say that you're living a healthy life, if you want to live a healthy life, if you're going to, you know, make promises to people, you got to start like making promises to yourself and start keeping them.
For sure.
And one day, like my last time drinking, I was at a Blink-182 concert in Brisbane with all like 30 of my best mates that I went to school with that were like, and I didn't tell them at the time, but I knew that I was like, that's the last time ever that I'm ever going to drink. And it was amazing, and it was an amazing night, and it was the best concert. It was like our childhood, reliving our childhood over again.
That's awesome.
But I remember being in the mosh pit, even though it was the best time of my life, I remember being in the mosh pit going, I wish I was here, but I didn't drink. Like I was already thinking, I wish I didn't drink for this moment. And like the next day, I had a podcast the next day, and even during the mosh pit, I was just like thinking about, I wonder what the episode's going to be like tomorrow. I was already like my mind was already gone, and like I said, it's easily the best one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Yep.
How's your journey been with it all?
So like you know, I was young. You know, you're young and you drink, and that's a cultural norm to drink and go out and have fun with your friends. Like I do it, you do it, everyone does it. Probably I didn't need to get sober. My goal was like, if I want to help people, I've got to be clear. I've got to have clarity, and I've got to be receptive. I've got to listen to people's thoughts and opinions and help them as much as I can. As head teacher wellbeing, 1,000 kids, they're coming up to you, you know, talking about what's going on at home, and we have a lot of kids that are struggling. So it's kind of like
you got a responsibility.
I got to lock in now. I got to lock in. If I seriously want to help people, I've got to stay away from alcohol, because you know you have a hangover, you're less, you know, you're sluggish, you're not aware, you're not receptive. So I'm like, I'm going to lock in, and I heard Brad Cooper say, he said as soon as he stopped drinking alcohol, he started just killing it with his life and getting roles, because he was just aware, he was receptive, his dialogue was strong, he started getting, so I was like, you know what? So I had 9 months not drinking last year. And great. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to go the whole year this year. And the reason why I'm doing it is because if I want to help young Aussies and help people be the best versions of themselves, you know, I want to be the best version of myself. So, and my old man taught me, I'm pretty sure maybe your old man taught you everything in moderation, and that's important. You know, you have a couple of beers, that's fine. But I'm locking in. I'm locking in. So, and I feel like I'm the best version of myself, and some great things have happened, mate. Like I got to speak to a private school, one of the most prestigious private schools in Sydney. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name the name. I'm not sure with the Department of Regulations. And I actually got to go speak to a juvenile justice system centre in Sydney, right? And I feel like those opportunities have happened because I've been putting some videos out there online, and they've all reached out to me online. And like I've just been trying to put that content out there, and I feel like if I was drinking alcohol, I wouldn't have posted that. I wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? You become less motivated.
Yeah, more lazy. And that sort of
lazy.
Thing,
and like, you know, you don't check your emails. You're like, I'll check it later. I'm just on.
You're on
I'm
a mission.
on at the moment. I'm on. So, mate, I went to the juvenile justice system in Sydney, and these guys that walked in that dabbed me up, murderers, and like trauma, and just baddest of the baddest kids, and I had them in stages, and I don't think I would have got that opportunity if I wasn't off the beers.
Present.
You know what I mean? More present. And mate, and they forewarned me, you know, these guys are pretty hectic, you know, I'm not sure how they're going to go. And I'm going to be open and honest here. I saw someone say authenticity is the highest frequency. And when these boys sat down, they're staring at me, and I said to the lads, I said, I'm not here to, who am I to judge your life? Who am I here to tell you how to live your life? Because quite frankly, I don't know what you've gone through, and I feel sorry for you boys that you're here. So I want to share my story, and I want to be able to share some things that I've learned. Hopefully that when you get out of here or when you face society, that you can use some of the values that I'm trying to teach you and be the best version of yourself. And it's those moments that I'm like, you know what? I don't think I would have got that opportunity if I was hungover. I honestly don't.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Because I felt the same, that in terms of something that not drinking forced me to do was really look inwards and deal with some of the things that were making me either nervous or anxious, or I was always turning to like the drink where I would always be like nervous to talk to girls or nervous to be in certain situations. And I honestly thought me drinking was bringing out the best in me because it made me more sociable, more outgoing, I guess more funny maybe. I was always sort of like, I didn't think about some of the things, and I was sort of more maybe charismatic or whatever it was.
For sure.
But I actually, like, the more I talk to people about who I was and the more I think about it, it actually brought out the worst in me.
Yep.
It actually brought out a different side of Elliot that I actually didn't like at all.
Yep.
And it actually took me a while to realize that it was actually bringing out the worst in me. And then it forced me to, once I stopped drinking, it forced me to be like certain situations socially where I was like, oh, I would have a beer here and a beer would make me feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
Now I can't do that.
Yeah.
Now it's forcing me to be like, all right, well, how do I be present?
Yep.
Because being present for you might have not come easily, but something that you're very good at, being present.
Yep, for sure.
Being present for me was something that I actually really struggled with.
Wow.
So drinking alcohol was sort of like that sort of gateway for me to just relax and, understand a bit more. So someone asked me like, have you always been interested or confident in having conversations with people? And I said to them, actually, like, I actually get a huge amount of social anxiety going into social situations, or I would always just like sort of panic a little bit, like, what am I going to say? Who am I going to talk to? And something that I actually realized early on was one of my coping mechanisms for my social anxiety was chatting to people. Because once I chat to someone, I'm thinking about what they're saying, the story they're telling, I'm asking questions, I'm getting outside of my own head. And before I know it, my social anxiety is gone because I'm not thinking about it and I'm having a conversation with you.
Awesome.
So it almost turned into me having a conversation with someone and me learning how to have a conversation with someone and learning how to listen stemmed from a coping mechanism with my social anxiety.
Wow.
And now that now when I'm feeling like that social anxiety, or if I'm at a party or I'm out with some friends or whatever it is, I just
have a yarn.
Yeah, I'll have a yarn. I'll just find someone and I'll just lock in with someone.
And that's your strategy.
That's my strategy. And 5 minutes later, I'm like, I'm relaxed. I've got that same feeling that I had if I had a schooner.
Wow.
And that's that's just how I sort of cope with it now.
That's cool, mate. And that's something that you've worked out yourself. That's how you deal with your social anxiety.
Yeah.
And that's important. Another reason why, I think I said to you earlier, I don't want to force or don't drink, I just see the benefits. I just see the benefits it's given me. And another thing I want to, when you're hungover, it's at our age, it just takes 3 or 4 days to get over it, and then you lose 4 days, and then you're just struggling. And another reason is like I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old girl. They're the best. They're the best humans on earth. I've been getting up at like 6 o'clock with them, and I'll get up early with them. It's just so much better. Like, I'm more present. It's just fun to be around me kids.
Well, I mean, especially when you're working Monday to Friday and you've got Saturday, Sunday off, and Saturday's normally a sport day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're like, you've got 2 full days to spend with your kids. The last thing you want to do is spend 2 full days in bed, or even when you're like, I've got mates that are sort of have a couple of days when they're a little bit hungover and they're like, and the kids poking them early in the morning. He's just like, they say to me, goes, I can't afford to be hungover. Like, I cannot afford.
Because they're on. Our kids are on.
They're ready to
rock and roll. You're Disneyland. You're the man.
Yeah. And they've said to me, they're like, look, those days of what we used to do back when we were in our 20s, they're gone. And you've got to accept it. Otherwise, this is you choose to have kids. Then you've got to make another choice and how to raise them, how to live, and the person you want to be. So
totally agree.
I know you're not preachy about it either.
No, I would never do that.
I'm not the same. If mates sort of come to me and they're either having struggles or in terms of their whole diet or life or anything like that, and they're still going out, 3 or 4 nights a week, and I'm like, how about you just try not to do that and see how you feel. If it doesn't help, fine.
Yeah,
but if it helps, just see like if that's the right path to be on.
Sure. And another thing we're going to talk about is like, drugs have classifications. They're depressants, stimulants, and hallucinogens. So if you're relying on a substance to make yourself feel good, and then when you become addicted to that substance and you rely on it, then You know,
Yeah.
it's not good for you. So.
Yeah, 100%. And I come from a drug abuse background, so I know. I think I'm a little bit more empathetic and compassionate around why people choose to numb pain or to numb circumstances or to numb feelings.
And I can understand it too. I've seen it. I've seen it. Yep, for sure.
I've always asked my guests, what are your 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life? For me, it's movement, community, and good nutrition. I've learned that what you fill your body with plays a massive role in how you feel physically and mentally. That's why I use True Protein. They're an Aussie brand doing things the right way. Clean, natural supplements with no artificial additives or fillers. Everything's made in-house in Sydney's northern beaches using the highest quality ingredients sourced from around the world. Whether it's supporting energy, improving focus, or reducing fatigue, their products genuinely help me show up better every single day. And just like Mind Your Head, they live by values I stand by. Be true, be you, and take care of your whole self. What message would you have to a young person who, that needs to hear this when it comes to coping with pressure, coping with, the stresses of life and how to cope with those sort of stresses in a healthy, more positive way? Because I know, I've heard someone, I think Bradley Cooper was actually talking about it. He's like, no one's ever made their life worse by giving up drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
It always improves your life.
It does.
Like, what would you say to a young person who's sort of dealing with stresses and...
Yeah, well, it's a tough one because they're all doing it, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're all doing it. So I get a police officer to come in and to the chat, and he's a legend of a bloke, but his perspective is like, boys, we know you're doing it. We know you have to look after your mates. If you're going to parties, you have to look after your mates, and you have to be present for your mates, because if something goes wrong, you've got to be there for them. So just be mindful and look after your friends in those environments, because if something goes wrong, you have to be able to, and it's a tough one because they're all doing it. So I think he comes from a harm minimization strategy. Like, what would you do if this and this happened, or how would you react if this and this happened? Then a good thing that he tries to teach the boys is, let's just say he rocks up to a party, police officer rocks up to the party, and they've had weed, coke, or whatever, and they've had heaps of stuff, and you go to, let's just say it's they go up to you and he says, oh, what's he had, and you lie. And that's no good, because he's on the phone to the paramedic, and the paramedic treats someone differently who's on coke. They treat someone differently who's on alcohol. So you just got to be honest. All right. So
how scary that is for them.
I guess, you got to experience life. You got to have fun. You got to party. And I went out when I was 18 and partied and done all that, but just don't let it consume you. Because once it consumes you, right, and you become dependent on it, you just lose. You lose motivation to do good things in this world. So just don't let it consume you.
And that's probably like one of the trickiest things. So obviously I spoke to you about becoming a parent, and if I'm being honest with you, like, that's one thing that actually really scares me, is if my child goes through the same things that I went through. In terms of, that's how I dealt with the anxiety, the pressure, the stress, the thoughts racing in my head. I felt that the drugs and alcohol silenced it all. Right. And I'm really fearful of my son or daughter going through something like that and feeling like that's the only way to cope with it.
For sure.
So me and Jordan have conversations all the time, or like, or how do we have some sort of implements in place whether it's breath work, whether it's like, if you've got a creative desire to express or to have these open dialogues with your parents, to have like, chats about emotions. Because I remember feeling certain things, but I didn't know what they meant. I couldn't put words to feelings.
For sure.
And it's not only until, I'm 30, I'm 4 now. It wasn't until I was maybe 30 or maybe late 20s that I had conversations with my mum and dad about these sorts of things. Whereas, I would never have had that conversation when I'm 12, 13, 14, but I was feeling the same way. But I just never talked about it. So I think having that open dialogue with your children.
It's very important that you brought that up with me. So I'm doing these resilience chats with young lads, and I'm trying to inspire young lads to be better. And a couple of parents have emailed me and spoke to me saying that these conversations, like, they're hard to have because I don't know how to navigate it. So I'm so thankful that you're doing that, and it's easy for me because it's a PE teacher, it's life skills. So one thing that I'm very grateful for, my wife's a teacher too. So with our girls, we have open and honest and conversation. So they come to every single Be the Vibe Academy. They come to every single one. So they know resilience. They come. So she's been coming. Elkie's been coming since she was 4. Ava's been coming since she was like 7 at the time. But they've just been around it.
Man, that's going to do wonders for them.
And having that open dialogue. So my wife is an unbelievable mother. Like she's so good at that open, honest dialogue, and that's so important because emotional resilience is taught at home. It's taught by your mother and father. That's why I'm so emotionally resilient. So my advice to you is when you have kids is you're thinking on the right path, mate. You have to have that open dialogue with your kids, and they have to be able to not feel embarrassed to say, hey, this is what's happened, because we've lived it, we've done it. So you got to have that open dialogue. So that's one thing my wife, Katie, can't stress enough. Like, how's your day today? And it's hard to get information out of kids, but you have to have that open dialogue. You have to.
Are you familiar with Gabor Mate? He's an author, but he's a sort of an expert in child development and trauma and that sort of thing. And
I know him.
You know him? Yeah. There was a seminar down here on the Gold Coast, and I went and watched him.
Wow.
And he talked about how to, what you want from your kids and that sort of thing. And he said that kids don't listen to what you say; they watch how you live. So you be the example. So that's something that me and Jordan talk about a lot, and how we want our kids to grow up and evolve and learn. And we talk about it. It goes, we've got to be that. So if we want our kids to be a certain way, talk a certain way, live a certain way, we've got to live that way. So if we want our kids to stay off our phones or stay off their phones, whatever, we can't tell them that, and then they watch us be on our phones. So we've got to be the example.
Totally agree. So when you parent, you've got to model good behaviour.
Yeah.
So you've got to model it every day, and it's not just modelling at home. It's how you treat people in public. When you go to Woolies, how you talk to people, how you react to negative situations, how you react to everything. It's all, you've got to model that behaviour, and I'm very good at that. My wife's so good at modelling that, and then my old man taught me the tools. So we model good behaviour, and they see it, and they don't listen to what you say. Like you said, they don't listen. The teenagers, especially they think they've got it all worked out, but they observe. They
watch
subconsciously
everything.
watch you. So if they watch you making the right choices and treating people with respect and kindness and showing positivity as much as you can, then that subconsciously goes into their brain, and that's how they act. Yeah, for sure. Did
your father teach you about masculinity? I know in today's society, and I know you deal with a lot of boys, is in a healthy way, in healthy masculinity. I know a lot of boys. I'm sure you have a lot more experience than I do, but it seems like they're they're either misguided or a little bit confused, or there's so much social media involved in what a man should be, how to act. How do you navigate that space with them?
It's at the forefront of conversations now. You watch adolescents and so my old man, like I keep saying, he was a gentle human, and he treated women with love and kindness and respect, and that's something that I've always done. And I think social media has a lot to do with, like, I can't say toxic masculinity. And what I really want to say about masculinity is, like, I'm a strong dude. I back myself. I love league. I love sport. Being strong's that's the identity. Like, and you have to be strong. So I was having a conversation with my brother, and he was sort of like, if I'm with my daughter walking down the street, she's got to know that I can keep her safe. So you have to be masculine in that respect. But I feel like it's a tough one to navigate. So I'm trying to teach boys. When I talk to the boys, there's a moment in the show where I lost the big challenge, and I hurt my knee. But a girl beat me. Like, she beat me. She was a PE teacher as well. So we had to hold on to a log, and it was just like muscular endurance. And I'm straggling, battling,
just
and then
tensing,
struggling, and then I lost probably the biggest challenge in the game. And I went up there and I just give her a cuddle, and I said, "Hey, you beat me here." And, like, give her a cuddle. And I said, "You deserve this. This is your moment." Like, so what I try to teach the boys is, despite her beating me, that you recognise your losses, but even though she was a female, I went up and give her a cuddle. So it doesn't matter. So it's a tough one to navigate, because I'm trying to teach men, young boys, to show women respect, and I'm only looking at it from a teacher's lens, but I feel like I think there's misguided information about what it means to be a man on social media, and like, you know, all those fitness gurus that put stuff out there, which is important. You know, you got to look good, but I think it's just misguided representation on what it means to how to treat a woman, and I think it's important that one of my goals is to go into schools and deliver these talks to young men about just respect and treating women with kindness and you know, and what it means to be a man, and you know what I mean? Like they're the sorts of topics I want to navigate.
Well, I think like
for young lads.
Yeah, I think that there's this narrative around masculinity with boys that you've got to be, you know, what you said, the strong, you've got to be the dominant one, you've got to be all this.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the term being strong isn't just, you know, creating a safe space for men and women, everyone in your presence. But I think being strong is also having the ability to be soft, to be gentle, to be
100%.
If you need to cry, to show that you to show all emotions. I think boys just want to have that ego of being, you know, tough, anger, you know, resilience, have that sort of hardened mentality.
For sure.
But it's also having the ability to switch and be gentle and be kind and be soft.
So it's funny you say that.
Don't raise your voice, lower your voice, body language, how are you presenting to the world?
Sure.
Yeah, you've got to have that armor on. Yeah. And I understand that we've got to have that armor on. I think everyone should have an armor. Yeah. But I think it's so important to also take the armor off.
Yep.
And to sit and be quiet and be gentle and to talk with respect, and it doesn't always have to be on the defensive. Yeah,
for sure. And there's a lot of young men out there who can't regulate their emotions, and they do get heightened and they do say impulsive things, and naturally they regret it. But you make better decisions when you're calm and you're composed. That's what I'm trying to teach the boys. Like, don't let anyone else's emotions dictate the way that you think, and that you learn that through experience. But one thing I like to say to the boys is, you know, I love my wife, I love me 2 girls, and you know, I froth Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make me less of a man because I like Taylor Swift, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to. You don't have to not. You know, that's just a. I don't know. Like, I've always been. You know, I watched The Notebook. I love The Notebook. It's mad. Ryan Gosling's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's almost breaking the stereotypes of like, men had to fit in a certain box. We have to like a certain things to be a man.
For sure.
Whereas like if someone likes something else or a man likes something else, they're like, they're less of a man.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, that's not true at all. Like,
not at all.
If you watch my music, if you listen to my music playlist or some of my favorite movies or the clothes maybe I like to wear or my certain interests in life, they might not be the stereotypical footy player.
For sure.
But I always, when I was playing footy, I always tried my hardest not to be the stereotypical footy player because I thought that's not me. And it's so easy when you're playing sport to fit into that category of like, this is what a typical rugby player sounds like, acts like, drinks like,
for sure,
all that sort of thing. But I always like try to stay away from that because it just wasn't me, and I wanted to paint a different picture.
Yep, absolutely, and that's important. And a lot of boys do think they've got to be tough, they've got to be strong, they've got to be powerful, like they've got to be, you know, a big, strong person.
If you're vulnerable, you're weak or anything like that.
So,
and it's something that I'm actually learning now with my partner Jordan, is that I, you know, she won't mind me saying this, but I felt really, it was really difficult for me at the beginning of a relationship. We've been together for 8 years, but I felt really difficult at the beginning to not pretend like I was someone just for her, in terms of I always wanted her to see me in a way that I was like Superman. I didn't want to seem like I was struggling. I didn't want her to know that I was having bad days. I didn't want her to know that I'm struggling with anything. I performed almost for her to make sure that she knew that I was this strong, tough family provider, security for the house. Like I wanted her to look at me and go, I can count on him.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be always there for me.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. And it got to a point where she said to me, like, do you have trouble like showing me things? Are you always hiding something from me? And I kind of broke down because I was like, I always want you to think that I'm Superman. Wow. I always want you to think that there's nothing wrong, everything's all good with me. And it took, she was like, look, that's unrealistic. You're trying to be perfect. You're trying to be this thing. You know what I need? I go, what's that? I go, I need you to be real with me. I need you to show me that you're having tough days. I need you to be honest with me. And a lot of guys that I talk to us about, they're like, oh, I would never I would never show that side to me with my partner. And I go, why is that? Because I went through it too. He goes, oh, well, that's weakness. She'll think that I'm weak. She'll think that I can't support her. She'll think that she'll start worrying about me. She'll start, questioning whether I'm going to be stable or anything like that. Wow. Whereas she was like, it's the most beautiful thing when I can see you for who you are. I'm not going to think of you less. I'm not going to think of you differently. If anything, it's going to build our connection even stronger.
Absolutely. Because you're being raw and honest.
You're being real. You're being genuine.
Yeah, for sure.
What, you think every guy that goes through life isn't going to have hard days or you're going to struggle? Like, I'd rather you talk to me about it.
For sure. And that's a very interesting point that you raised, because imagine how many blokes are out there right now who are putting up that wall and they don't want to be open and honest with their wives or their partner and to say, look, I'm the provider. Maybe that could be the contributor of why young men, go through depression, because they're not being their authentic self. So your partner, kudos to your partner for recognizing that, because I've always had that open dialogue with my wife, and she's always she calls me the Pisces. You're such a Pisces, always swimming with all these dreams, but she just backs me, and I can be open and honest. And I feel like if you have a wife or a partner that you can be open and honest with, and it's just so important.
It's so important.
So important.
You mentioned. I think you mentioned it in a message to me earlier that you've got your father, 2 daughters. And it's it's your mission to make sure they feel safe in their environment and to be to grow up in a safe environment. What does a safe environment mean to you, and what does it look like?
Good question. So a safe environment means obviously the basic necessities are met. The food, shelter, and stuff like that. That's important. But I think a safe environment is like we spoke about earlier, it's just open dialogue. And I want my daughters to know that they can tell me everything, and I'm very grateful that we're teaching them that at a young age. So I think to be safe and supported consistently, and be able to teach them that it's a good question. So I just want them to find their niche, find their people, and a part of navigating that is choosing their circle wisely, but more importantly, sorry, go back to the question.
What does a safe environment mean, and how do you show that? How do you show that to them? Yeah.
So I guess reflecting on what I've gone through.
Yeah.
I was given a safe environment. So further to that, open, honest dialogue, making sure that they're catered for, that they're looked after, and if they make a poor choice or they do something wrong at school or whatever, and they feel guilty for it, that they can be open and we can go, hey, this is what you need to do. You know what I mean? So open and honest dialogue is honestly the key to raising my daughters.
I guess you're also setting the example for what a healthy relationship looks like, and a healthy relationship with a man looks like. So I read something before, and it was, your daughter's first love, is your dad. Like they're going to look at you and go, that's the standard.
Yep.
So when a man comes or a woman comes into their life, like they're going to look at you and go, this is the standard my dad set. Like this is, if a boy comes into my life, like anything less, they're not gonna, that they look at you and go, well, this is how I should, this is how I should be treated. This is how I should be loved. Like there's a standard there already met. Yeah.
And that she'll see that. She'll see how how I treat Kate, and I always say to the girls, girls, I'm so lucky I've got my wife. Like she's shaped me to be the person I am, and they're young, but I can see Ava's listening. She's listening, so she's gonna, she's.
Let's get into a bit of social media now.
Ooh.
Because I know that's something you're passionate about. It's something, if I'm being honest with you, scares the shit out of me.
Oh, mate.
Because it wasn't around when I was going through school. It wasn't around when you were going through school. The pressures and even the bullying that goes on all over Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. None of that I grew up with. Like I could go home and no one would speak to me, where kids go home now and it's just relentless bullying. And we mentioned stuff like, you see in adolescence, and if anyone ever watched that on Netflix, you should give it a watch.
Oh, absolutely.
It's pretty eye-opening.
Yep.
I know it's something that you're passionate about. Do you think that at the moment there's, an epidemic with phone addiction with kids?
Phone addiction is the worst epidemic we're all that young teenagers, and even myself and you included, are facing today. It is the biggest problem that I see with social media, and I'm very passionate about it, is because so I see it from a teacher's lens. So I've got so much to say. I just got to get it all out.
Yeah, get it all out.
I guess what I'm seeing is that a lot of kids now, you have to look at the statistics today. What are statistics telling us between the ages of 13 and 24 is that depression, anxiety, and suicide is on the rise. Now, obviously, there's a multitude of factors as to why this is the case, but I honestly believe this mobile phones and social media is painting a distorted reality for perfection and what life looks like. And social media identity is a fake, curated world, and it doesn't put out like
it's the highlight reel.
Struggle. It's a highlight reel, and young impressionable minds who don't know who they are, they're scrolling on Instagram and TikTok and thinking that's perfection, that's life. I need to look like that. I need to be like that. Now, I know it's not the case for all kids, but kids are so obsessed with their phone. They're mindlessly scrolling on their phone, and what's happening, and this is what I've seen it firsthand as a teacher, is they're just, I think that, I love my job and I've got I love it and I'm energy, but I've just seen the way that kids change in the classroom and the way that change their personality. Like I feel like when I first started in the year 2010, mobile phones weren't as widespread. I think it sort of started 2015. I think everyone had their phone, but if I look at it from an academic perspective, say I set up a research task, so let's just say it was on Nathan Cleary, and I told them all to do it in 2010, they'd all sort of be able to research. They'd all be able to do it. And I feel like now if I was to set up a research task, they'd be like, what do I do here? What do I do there? What's going on? And I feel like what mobile phones are doing, it's making kids less critical, less critical thinkers, less receptive, less attentive, less motivated in the classroom. And I think that's the biggest problem that teachers are facing today is that they're planning these awesome lessons for kids and they're just not receptive to it because of mobile phones.
Is it the 3-second rule? Is it like,
yeah?
Because if anyone doesn't know, it's I think they've nailed it down to 3 seconds of attention before. If you're scrolling, if it doesn't catch your attention in 3 seconds, you just keep scrolling again. Do you think that's transferred from the mobile phones to the classroom in terms of like, if you haven't got the kids' attention, they're off. They're doing something else. They're thinking something else.
So true. And I love my job, and I do the best that I can as an educator. And one thing that I have on my side, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way, is I have got a lot of character, charm, connection, charisma. That's my 4 C's of teaching. So I love being in the classroom, but you've got great teachers out there who might not necessarily have those character traits, but they're planning the best lessons and they're just not getting met, and the outcomes aren't getting met because it is the 3-second rule. They're less attentive, they're less focused, they're less engaged. And I've got to be careful because I don't want to ridicule teaching. I love it. Like I love teaching, but I'm just seeing it from mobile phones. What mobile phones are doing to young teenagers is they're just not as motivated academically as what they used to be. Now, this is my perspective. I've taught in the public school system, so I'm only looking at from my lens, but for the research that I'm looking at and the podcast that I'm listening to, it seems to be Australia-wide.
Widespread. It's definitely corrupting. I think it's definitely corrupting kids' perception of what reality actually is. And it's almost leading to, I know that I've got some examples from my friends who are teachers where, you get asked, and my friend's a child psychologist, and I was chatting to her about this, and she goes, I see kids come in with their parents, and she goes, just some basic questions and getting to know the kid, and she goes, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she gets majority, she goes, 9 times out of 10, the kids that I see, they want to grow up and be Instagram models.
Wow.
I want to be this guy. She goes, who do you want to be? And he gets his phone out and he goes, I want to be this guy. And he's an influencer. That sort of thing. Like, I want to be rich and have cars and money. And she's just, and I chat to her about it. She came on the podcast not too long ago. And I asked her, what's your take in terms of exposing kids to social media, to mobile phones? And she reckons 18 plus. Like, it should be 18 plus.
Yep.
Like before. What's your take on that? I know
it's a good question. Me and my wife talking about it a bit. So So like, 'cause she's a teacher as well. But she said the analogy about, like, when you have a kid who's getting their license, have to get their L's, have to get their P's, and basically with the mixed messages and the content that they're exposed to, like, you've seen, like, young boys and young girls, if they get a phone at the age of 10, they're getting exposed to porn And you know what porn's like? They're actors. And it's not
real.
It's not real. Like they're actors. Like
Yeah.
and that for them to see that at a young age, that distorts their reality and the way they think. And you have someone who's growing up and developing, and then they're going through puberty. It's just distorting the way they think.
Yeah, because they're not at an age where they can actually identify what's real and not real.
They're so impressionable.
You know, so impressionable, especially like, I hate to bring him up, but in terms of like the Andrew Tates of the world, when there's a lot of people, a lot of male influencers that are like that. When a young boy sees that, he's not at an age maturity level to realize to cut the bullshit, so to speak. Like, you'd be like, we can look at that and go,
yeah, oh God. He's just, look, there's some elements of Andrew Tate that are like, mindset, but there's some things that. He's like, well, you don't.
But for a kid,
oh, wow. That's
all
how
he
I'm gonna be.
sees is someone successful, money, rich, and say lots of girls. And then a young boy's like, I want to be, that's what I want to be.
For sure.
You know?
And that's...
sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine, mate. You're fine. I'm very passionate.
Yeah, well, I'm also thinking, like, is that something as a parent that you're battling too, is when, you know, you can do all the sort of influence you can as a parent.
Yep.
But they're on their phone.
That's right.
So you're battling attention on their phone, and then say, you know, the kids go to school, they're also battling what's happening at school in the playground and stuff like that. So you've got like a finite amount of time, whether in the mornings or at night, that you can have your own powerful influence over your children.
And that's the thing. Like, there are parents navigating these conversations well, but there's, I have conversations with mates who are going through, their daughters are going through, you know, puberty and stuff like that, and they're trying to teach them right from wrong about how to use their phone, but they can't control what their friendship groups are looking at. So they spend time with their friends on the weekend, and they're watching content that they probably shouldn't be watching, but you've protected them with their phone, but they're watching stuff that they shouldn't be watching.
It's almost like one step forward, two step backwards. Yeah, almost.
And that's the problem. And then I can't undermine parents. You can't do that. But I really want to raise awareness. And I'm looking at the camera when I say this. Like, if you have a son or daughter who's on their mobile phone, have those hard-hitting conversations with them about what they're watching, about what they're seeing, about the people out there that are spreading mixed messages, and ensure that that's a distorted reality, and you get remembered. You honestly get remembered for how you treat people in the real world, not for how. No one cares about your social media or your Instagram
or how many friends you have,
and
who follows you,
and that's the problem that I have, and that's the problem that I believe a lot of teenagers have, and funnily enough, I'm putting videos out there as well. And I've got a TikTok and stuff like that, but it's not my be-all, end-all. I'm just doing it because I think it's the right thing to do. And I feel like a lot of teenagers and even myself and you, we're all addicted to it. It's all stealing our dopamine. So I've made it a habitual habit now. When I'm looking at content online, I've got about probably 350 saved videos, and it's all motivational stuff. Yeah. So when I'm scrolling, I'm just only watching Brian Tracy.
That's what I do as well.
You know, that's all I'm watching at the moment.
Have you put boundaries on yourself in terms of social media and like limiting time and knowing when just to, you know, this is work?
Yeah.
Like for me, it's almost like when it becomes not work, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Put this phone down. But if it's work related, if it's doing stuff with the podcast, if I'm posting, if I'm engaging, I'm commenting. But then sometimes I'll finish a comment and then I'm like scrolling and then I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, it's a beautiful day outside. Like, I've done what I've needed to do. I've posted what I've needed to post. Put the phone down.
Yeah, I've got to be raw and honest here too. Like, you know, I'm putting videos out there. A couple of them have like gone viral. I don't give a shit about going viral, but a lot of comments and then a lot of people reaching out. So I'm like, I'll write back because it's the right thing to do, you know. Like, and then I'm like, okay, that's done, and then I'll get a notification again. So I've got to find that balance between work, making it work, and putting out content, and putting it away and go and being in the real world, because like, you know what I mean? Real world connections matter. Like, and I feel
that's
like
real dopamine.
Yeah,
that's
real dopamine, real connection, sport, playing outside, doing things, nature. That's where it's at. And another thing I wanted to say was, I grew up in a small coastal town, St George's Basin, and in summer there was kids everywhere. And I went to that same spot in summer this year, not a kid in sight, and cracking day, and it's a coastal town. And I'm like, it's changed so much. It's changed.
Yeah. How do we fix it?
It's a good question, mate.
You know, I'm giving you the hard-hitting ones.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one. So what I'm doing is I'm working hard behind the scenes to come up with a digital program for kids. Me and my wife are doing it currently right now, and obviously that's only a microscopic benefit.
Yeah.
But kids need to understand what it actually is doing to the brain. And I'm doing a lot of research and myself, and so I'm actually creating a digital product online that I want to launch at the end of the year.
Educational based.
Yeah. And you know, you're going to use your phone. That's fine, but don't let the phone use you. You know,
It should be a tool.
It's got to be a tool. So with me now, I want to uplift people. I want to inspire people. I want people to be better. So I'm only watching videos that correlate with what I want to do. So and it's that fine balance. Like, phones are great. You can watch some funny reels and it makes you feel good and that, but just like. Another reason why, like, you know, I don't know if you experienced it, but when you're a drug user, you're a bit of a narcissist. You just think about yourself. Well, a lot of teenagers, they're narcissists now because they're just thinking about the dopamine. So when you ask them to do things, they just, I don't want to. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
how am I going to look?
Yeah.
What do I look like in this?
Yeah.
How's it going to benefit me?
Yeah.
Can I post this? What's people going to think?
For sure.
You know, it's a very external, outwards way of thinking. How am I going to be perceived by other people?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I think it's even reinforcing that need to seek that external validation, to get that attention.
For sure.
Do you think there needs to be a restriction? I'm heavy on this. As me and Jordan talk about this, I think having a phone, maybe without social media. Or like,
so you know what my wife says?
Go back to the Nokia brick phones.
She says the flip phones.
The flip phones.
She goes, go back to the flip phone. Where all you can do is just text and call.
The Nokia brick phones that had Snake on them.
She
just go back to them.
She says it all the time. She goes, she wants to, like, she's funny. You know how like old things come back and they're cool?
Yeah.
Because I'd love to in 2030.
Yeah.
Give the
daughters
the flip phones. Yeah, everyone's got a flip phone because there's no judgment. There's no external validation. There's no need to look good on social media.
There's no need for it.
You know what I mean?
It's all good to, I think there needs to
balance.
There needs to be a balance. And I think when they're too early, like we were saying, they just haven't got that emotional, mental maturity to distinguish right from wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, too much is not enough.
Mate.
So I think that 18 years old, I think that sort of all comes in. I'd love to see if they tried it to 18 years old. I'd love to see what the shift would be like.
For sure.
You know, they might go back to your hometown and there might be kids playing all in the streets or at the beach on a nice day.
Well, I've just seen the impact it's had, mate. Like, I've just seen they're less receptive, they're less motivated, they're less engaged. I feel like a lot of them have lost character, like have lost like personality, like real world personalities. And it's not everyone. I don't want to say it's horrible, but it's from my experience. More than not. It's my experience from what I've seen as a teacher. And I think, I think with young and impressionable minds and identity and working out who you are, it sends so many mixed messages, and it's not good for teenagers. And I'm more passionate about it now. If you had asked me 10 years ago, I wouldn't have cared. But now I've seen the impact. I'm like, 18 has to be 16 to 18, I think, but then heavily monitored by parents.
100%. And I think in a world where, you know, when kids are going through that puberty stage where everything's confusing, everything's emotional, everything is heightened, it just adds to it. You don't need that added pressure of want to have followers, want to have friends. And then it'll also go back to the, you know, I don't know if you've had any experience with the bullying that comes along with social media. I know there's been a lot of kids recently, the last, couple of years, that unfortunately take their own lives when they're, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And it's pretty horrific that a kid has to feel like they don't want to be around because of the bullying that continues, not just at school, but they go home and it's constant, it's non-stop.
They can't get away from it. They can't escape.
There's no freedom.
And that's the problem, because they're so obsessed with their phones and they got FOMO. They can't leave it there. They have to constantly check it. So if it's something negative that someone said something about them, and the problem is, and this is just from, what I believe, and one thing I teach boys is opinions aren't facts. I try to teach them that. But I feel like what a lot of teenagers and people are doing is when they go to bed, they shut the door. They're exposed to bullying. So they're alone in their room. And a lot of kids think they have to handle it themselves, and they don't actually have those open conversations with their mum and dad and say, hey, I've been told to kill myself. I've been called a slut, a fat dog, all these nasty things that they shouldn't get exposed to at a young age. And when someone calls you something, my mindset's bulletproof now. I'm good. But if I'm a young kid, I'm getting told those things.
You're vulnerable.
I'm going to be depressed, and I'm going to, I'm going to, not be confident with the world. And then the best part is that's social media. Like, and what social media is doing for young teenagers, it's making them less emotionally receptive and emotionally numb. So what I mean by that is like they might say, "Go kill yourself." That's the worst thing you can say to someone, but they just think that's normal dialogue. That's the scary part. That's what social media is doing. It's like distorted way of how you treat people. And that's why I just think it's so wrong.
It's so frightening, isn't it?
It's scary. And then the poor teenager and the poor girl and that boy or girl that goes through that thinks they have to go through that alone. Like, and I hate to bring up suicide, but look at the objective data. More young males and females are killing themselves from online bullying. It's there. The data's there. So I did this thing. I'm head teacher wellbeing, and Dolly's Dream reached out, and I don't know if you know about her. Yeah. So I did this massive day, and I talked to the kids. And one thing, it's all well and good to do these Dolly days, and it's so important to do this. But I go up in front of 1,000 kids, and I talk explicitly about the impact of mobile phones. And I'd rather, when I do this day, I want to make them think about it. I don't want to just play, because I played a Star for Students Oztag game. Unreal. So good.
That would have been good.
Yeah, awesome. So good. I love competing. It's great. Our team won. Yeah. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to go, hey, guys, don't bully online. It's not nice. And, you're young and impressionable. And I say that at assembly, and they're all looking at me, and I know they're listening to me. But it's so important. It's so important for parents to have these conversations with the kids about the effects that it's having.
Well, you mentioned, we sort of talked about the adolescent show on Netflix that was a real eye-opener for me, and especially what was a little bit scary in terms of what schooling is like nowadays. And I'm not saying that all schools are like that, but I'm sure that a lot of aspects of that show, a lot of kids could probably resonate with in certain schools around the world, to be honest with you. You've taught for 15 years, is it?
Yep.
Did you see a lot of themes, or have you seen a lot of themes that you sort of witnessed in adolescence play out at certain schools? Or have you heard sort of stories from other teachers, and especially with the bullying, when you see a lot of like confused boys that don't know how to communicate, and that phone addiction, and did that look familiar at all?
Yeah, so I feel like when you look at, I think it was very good because it was through the adolescence lens, and some of the dialogue and lingo online, about how Instagram emojis and stuff like that. I was aware of it, but they've got a secret language, and they've got you got those skibbity and all those terms, and they've got a secret language, and they're obsessed with that. That consumes them. And I guess, and the biggest problem is, it's just a tough one, because it's kind of it's almost like it's their world. And they're so consumed by that, by the social media world and how they are there. They've lost sense of reality there. So they treat teachers differently, they treat themselves differently, and it's a tricky one to navigate.
Tricky one, eh?
It's so hard. And
do you find that's one of the reasons, I'm sure you'll let me know, one of the reasons why so often teachers burn out, they don't last long? Is it because of the that obviously the high demand? I got a lot of friends that are teachers, and it's the amount of work you do outside of your hours. It's the stress. It's the
for sure,
the full on. Obviously, teaching nowadays, I honestly don't know how you guys do it. To be honest with you,
so I've never fallen in that pattern of behaviour that I hate teaching. I love it.
You love it.
I'm happy. I turn up every day with a smile. But we've got some brilliant teachers who prepare lessons, who do amazing things for these kids, and they're burnt out because it's just hard. It's hard these days. And on top of that, it's differentiation. There's more meetings. There's more expectations. There's more external courses. There's more complex kids. So it's hard. It's hard to be a teacher. So that's why I think I read a stat 60% of teachers quit within the first 2 years because of all the external pressure.
It's incredible.
It's insane.
Emotional taxing, isn't it?
It's emotionally taxing, and I'm grateful I've got a wife that's a teacher, so I can confide in her. We talk, and she and the best part about me, and this is my personal opinion, is I listen to a lot of stuff on personal development, and Jim Rohn's one of my guys, and that I listen to a lot. and this is something that resonated with me. It's work harder on yourself than you do your job. And I'm continuously evolving as a person. I'm good at what I do, but I can understand that there's so much pressure. But that's why I turn up every day and I'm happy and I'm present, because I'm working hard on myself. But I feel sorry for the teachers that can't separate themselves from work, and it's hard, mate. It's tough. And shout out to all the teachers out there that go above and beyond for the kids, because I just want to let you know it's worth it. Like, it's worth it. I've been in the game for 15 years, and when I walk down the streets, they remember the teacher that made them feel happy. They remember the teacher that was positive. And by all means, I'm not saying I'm the best teacher. I'm far from it, but I'm the teacher that's happiest in any environment. So I think when you peel it back, you actually are making a difference. If you're a teacher out there and you don't think you are, because the way that you are and the way that you turn up every day for those kids is so important, and just turning up's important. You know what I mean? So,
do you think there's enough support for teachers in terms of dealing with the emotional and side of it?
When you look at the objective data and you look at support available, I have to be honest and say there's probably not. There's probably not a lot of support available for teachers
that are really struggling.
And that's probably why they.
You would hate to see good teachers.
Yeah, and we have. Well, I've
leave
seen,
after a couple of years just because it's too much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And I'm just lucky that I've been in the game for so long, and I do the best that I can. And I've got my support network. I've got me 2 good mates that I work with, and they're legends. And you got to find your people that you can trust and rely on, because it can be tough. And if you're a teacher and you don't have a good support person with you along the way, and you feel more alone, and
more often than not, they get you through it too.
They get you through it.
Yeah.
And one thing about me, and this is, I know I'm talking about myself, but
this is all about you, mate.
Yeah, I don't forget that. I don't forget to not have fun. I have fun, mate. And I feel like teachers are so pulled in so many different directions, they forget to have fun. And that's my philosophy, is like having fun. And that's why, like, I love my job. And I get to play sport.
Yeah.
I get to do what I love.
Yeah.
So that's why I've stayed in the game for so long.
How do you keep showing up for kids when your tank is sometimes empty? Is it ever empty? It doesn't seem like your tank's ever empty.
Yeah.
Does your tank get empty?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't know.
You haven't experienced it yet?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound arrogant, but I don't know. Obviously, there's days where you're tired and you're frustrated and stuff. But I don't know. I just this is a funny way to put it. My wife, you like autism and stuff like that. Like, my name's Corey. She calls it cultism. She goes, "You're just relentlessly positive," like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is a good way to be. And that's why I went okay on the reality show, because it was tough. But yeah, maybe I might get drained out. But I guess when I reflect on my life, the life that I've been given, and with my adoption and what my old man taught me, do everything with good heart and expect nothing in return. I just do it. I turn up every day.
What do you wish people outside of teaching understood about the emotional toll of teaching?
For sure. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say, "Oh, you got holidays and it's easy, and you got 30 kids in a classroom. That's easy. You can do that."
There is a bit of misconception about the role, isn't it?
There is a bit of misconception, and I guess to the parent who has no ideas of the pressures that teachers are facing, it's tough. It can be tough, and while I've got the coping strategies myself, like, there's so much external pressure to be a teacher. And you're not nearly there to educate anymore. Like, you got to talk to parents more consistently. You've got to have the work samples. You've just got to have so much as a teacher, and it's just burnout. There's meetings, there's expectations, there's learning plans. There's just so much that teachers have to do to accommodate for that person, because there's so many complex needs nowadays, and ADHD, autism, and you have to differentiate your lessons. You have to excel kids. You have to bring kids up. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I got a tough question for you.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
If you could redesign the schooling system,
okay, I'll
the curriculum, the structure.
I've thought about this.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked.
How would you do it?
Okay.
What would you do?
This is what I'd do if I was forming a school, right? Yeah. Okay. Like, let's just say a high school, because I'm high school trained. This is what I'd do. Year 7 and 8, I'd do the basic fundamentals of geography, history, all those things that they need to learn, English, maths. And then what I would do was, when they get to year 9, they do the basic fundamentals of maths and English, and then whatever they're passionate about, right, the other 4 subjects, let's just say it could be woodwork and they want to be a builder. They spend the next 4 periods doing that because that's what they want to do. Obviously, things change over time. So for me, if it was me, it'd be like English, maths, and then I'd do sports or sports psychology.
And you would give those kids the freedom of choice to choose what they want to dive straight into.
What they want to do.
Instead of forcing them to do something that they're not particularly passionate about.
Obviously, it's hard to navigate and build something like that, but attendance would increase because they know they have to do the basic fundamentals of maths and English, but then they know the other 4
are doing what they actually
they're doing what they want to do, what they love. So let's just say you have the art kid. They're just doing art and they're passionate about it. They have art projects. It's all art. Then they're going to be happier because they're doing something that they love. And let's just say you have the kid who loves drama and acting. Well, that's what they're going to do for the next 4 hours of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how I would design it. And I think, and the reason, I think I read somewhere, I think maybe Sweden might be doing this. So I read this I think European countries are doing this. And I think attendance increased. I think, kids are more happier. They're more receptive because they're doing something that they love.
I'm sure grades would increase because they're so focused and happy about doing it.
For sure.
It sounds similar to, I'm not too sure if you know much about the Montessori setup.
I have heard of that.
It's very much driven by the students that there is, I think there's core subjects that they have to learn, but then outside of that, it's pretty much like you do your own homework. What do you want to do? I think it
is very similar to that.
Yeah, because Jordan, my partner, went to Montessori.
Wow.
And for 2 years.
Wow. And what did she have to say about it? What was her experience?
She absolutely loved it. What she said to me was, because you get to choose what you want to learn.
Yeah.
You learn at your own pace, or you can excel. Like if you're picking it up, you just keep going through the grades. You don't just sort of get held there for 1 year.
Yeah.
If you're picking it up, you keep going through. So I was like, oh really? Like, and she goes, I loved it, and she said, well, put it this way, I went to. This is Jordan talking. She finished Montessori, went to a private school on the Sunshine Coast that was very, very academically based, where it was a lot of kids go there to get good grades or to play music.
Yeah.
And she said when she got there, she was really nervous because she was like, I went to Montessori. Like, I'm not too sure if what's comparison going to be like. And when she started doing maths at class, she goes, I learnt this. She's in her own head. She goes, I learnt this my first year at Montessori.
Wow.
And so that was years ago. So she's learning grade 12 maths. She did it years ago at Montessori. So, and I was like, oh, really? And she goes, well, as soon as you progress, you go at your own speed. So she was sort of just bumping through the grades of learning maths. And then she got to, year 12 at Matthew Flinders and realized that she already learnt that a couple of years ago.
Isn't that crazy?
And I went, oh, that's incredible.
That's fascinating, eh?
So you learn what you want to learn at your own pace. And if you're going through it and you're passionate about it, you're picking it up.
You just keep excelling.
Keep excelling, yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting.
It's incredible.
So interesting, yeah.
I'd love to talk about your academy.
Yes,
if you want to dive into that, and
for sure.
What made you want to start it?
Wow, so always something I wanted to do. Me and my wife, passionate about it because we've known there's been a bit of a change in the way the kids act, and my wife's always sort of, we need to start resilience, something to do with resilience, and then something I've always wanted to do. And I think when I was on the reality show and I good things happened and I won a few challenges and I'd done a few things, I had that epiphany moment. I'm like, as soon as I flew back, I'd lost 15 kilos. I was like real skinny. I said, okay, we're doing this academy and we're going to call it Be the Vibe. And she just like, you got to wait until you get shown on air. You could be looked, they might not portray you as that person. Because I said, I killed it. I went so good.
But you know what the editor's going to be like.
Exactly. Like but she backed me. So we wrote down a few things about how we're going to do it and stuff like that. And very, very grateful that the community backed me. Like everyone just gets behind me, and it's so important what we do because it's ages 6 to 12. and all run by PE teachers, all people that I work with. So they're all good with kids.
They're all passionate about it.
So we do team building, we do STEM activities, we do OzTag, soccer, tennis, and just wide variety of activities and rotate through the groups. But what we do differently I can't compare with other academies. I'm just doing it myself. Is we sit them down explicitly and we talk about the values. So let's just say we tell the coaches we want you to talk about kindness explicitly, and then we want you to reflect. We want them to reflect on where they showed kindness in that game, and then they'll say, "Oh, such and such fell over, and I picked him up, so I had to show kindness." And then someone will say, "Yeah, that I saw you do that."
Oh, so you actually get them to voice it all?
Get them to voice it.
Oh, right.
So rather than, I'm the guy that's on the mic and I'm just relentless with positivity, kindness and resilience, we call them vibe circles. And then we talk about what positive looks like. We talk about what kindness looks like, but then we get them to reflect.
Yeah, I love that.
They have to reflect.
Yeah.
So
building habits in themselves to
building habits
for the positives.
Yeah. And it's so good because I'm getting emails back from parents. Like I use the analogy of what resilience is. What a ball does, it bounces back, but what an egg does, it breaks. And obviously, part of building resilience is finding your people and finding your circle. But sometimes you have to, be a ball. You have to bounce back. And I get emails and messages from parents saying, "Oh, hey, like such and such fell over." And they said, "That's all right, Mum, I'm a ball. I'm going to bounce back," and stuff like that. So we're starting to get real emails, and I think it's getting ingrained in the kids. And it is a bit tedious because we keep saying it, but we're seeing the impact it's having, and I'm very proud of what we're doing, and I think it's impactful. But you can't do this without the support of the community. The community's behind me, so
everyone's got to buy into it.
Everyone's got to buy into it. They've got to buy into what you do. And
I've got this thing about resilience where I feel like people who are resilient have gone through some sort of pain and suffering.
Yep.
To be resilient, like yourself,
you have to.
It's part of being resilient.
Yep.
All right, and I talk about this with Jordan, is that how do we teach resilience, but at the same time, like to our kids, but at the same time, not wanting them to go through any pain
for sure
and suffering.
Yeah.
But even though I think that's a prerequisite, I think that's the word.
Yep.
It's requirement.
Yep.
Requirement to be resilient is to go through some sort of pain and suffering.
And that's another thing I try to teach the kids when they're all sitting there, and I teach the young boys that I speak to is life's a roller coaster. Like, bad things are going to happen to you. Like, that's just reality. That's life. Like, you have to go through bad experiences to get to the other side. And not necessarily bad, but like things don't go your way. Like, you might lose 7-0 on the soccer pitch. You have to show resilience. You turn up next day and you train on the Tuesday and Thursday. What's your coach going to do? He's probably going to look at defensive strategies to make you better. But you're right. And the thing is, I don't want to sugarcoat life to the kids. I don't say, it's great to be kind and be positive and that, but you can't cripple kids. You can't protect them, and that's what I try to teach them is like, things don't go your way.
Do you feel like that in today's society that kids are being set up in terms of not being resilient, in terms of, a false realization of what the real world is?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
I do a little bit. Depending on parents and parenting styles, depending on what they're teaching, is I feel like what mobile phones are doing, it's making life appear to be easy. And you can get things handed to you on a platter. You know what I mean? And it's an idolized, curated, fake world where they think anything can just happen automatically. And when it doesn't happen, because social media told them it does, when it doesn't happen, they become lazy, less ambitious and less focused. So I think social media is setting unrealistic expectations for teenagers.
For sure.
I get handed on a platter. Like, it's not the case.
It's not the case, is it? What impact do you hope to leave behind through your academy?
I've got big goals and big dreams.
You do?
I'd love to be able to deliver these workshops Australia-wide. I'd love to be able to fly into Perth and fly into the Sunshine Coast and deliver talks and because I think I'm passionate and I don't mean this in any arrogant way, but I feel like when I talk, people listen, and it comes from experience. And when I listen to Tony Robbins and he sort of says people are rewarded for their practice for years in private. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I feel like I've got more to give. I've got more to do in this world. And I guess my legacy is I want to leave a lasting impact and help change the way that people think, and also make them feel positive about life and, driven and to do great things, like that's what I want to do.
How do you measure success?
Good question. Me and my wife spoke about this.
Yeah.
We spoke about this and I measure success by and it's interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my measurement of success is helping people. And I've been doing that my whole life. My wife, she helps people. That's my measurement of success. And on topic of like expectations to be great, to the bloke out there that's a brickies labourer and they're feeding their kids and they're looking after their family, that's success. You know what I mean? And I just want to help as many people as I can, and whatever platform, whatever it may be. But a definition of success is, even if you're not pursuing your dreams and you're not living the life that you want to live, but do you provide for your family? That's successful. Do you have a good circle of friends? That's successful. Are you good to people? That's successful. You know what I mean? So people have different expectations of what success is. I just want to be remembered as someone that help people. That's it. That's all I want to do. But I think that success is like, a lot of people, you have to do this. But I just, success is looking for the good in the little things as well.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We got a few final questions to finish off. So you can
awesome.
quick 5 questions. You can answer these as quickly or as long as you want.
Yep.
What would you say to that 13-year-old version of yourself who felt lost or disconnected? What would you say to that person?
I'd say it's going to be okay. I'd say you're on the right path. You know what you want to do. You know where you want to be. You want to be a PE teacher. You're gonna help many people, mate. You're gonna do good things in this world. So all that fire that you have, that itch that you have, that you think you're gonna do great things, you're gonna do it, mate.
Love that. What does it mean to be the vibe in a world that's constantly pulling us away from ourselves?
Great question. I think to be the vibe, you have to be so aware of your surroundings. Now, in 2021, I stopped watching the news. My daughter kept asking questions about it. It was a murder. It was a car crash. The world,
it's that negativity
media,
bias.
It's just a negative focus. So I asked my wife, I don't watch the news anymore. Since 2021, I don't watch it because it's just a negative focus. So to be the vibe, you have to recognize that positive thoughts is vibrations, and they affect the way that you think. And my vibration is just positive, and that's my world. That's being the vibe. And not to say that things don't go your way. They don't. You have to show resilience. So I think being the vibe is finding your purpose, but doing things that make you feel happy and positive all the time.
Yeah, love that. Who's your hero?
My dad.
Your dad's a hero.
My dad's my hero.
Yeah.
He shaped me to be the person I am, and my wife.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife. They're my 2 heroes, so I'm grateful for them.
What are your 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life? What do you need every day?
Connection.
Yep.
That's important. You have to be connected to something or someone or something, or connected to something. Passion. I did say that success isn't measured by, but if I'm just doing something that I'm passionate about. So I think passion's important. Another thing is being present.
Yes, love that.
Being present. A lot of people getting pulled in many different directions, and that, you know what they say, like if you're depressed, you worry about the past. If you're anxious, you worry about the future. But if you're present, you're happy.
It's even harder nowadays to be present with all the distractions and everything that's in our lives. So it's important now than ever to learn that ability to be present. Yeah,
for sure. Totally agree.
What has fatherhood taught you about life and how we should be living?
That's a great question. My girls are my everything. You know what I mean? It's taught me, they've actually shaped me to be a more mature man, to be a more present man. And when I look back on my life, I want to do great things, but I want my girls to go, oh, my dad's special. My dad's living his dream. My dad's helping people, and I want them to look back on my life, and I want them to be proud of me, and I had that awesome moment where, I won a challenge on live TV and it was great. And I was looking at them and they were like, and I was like, wow, that was a good moment. So I want more of those moments. Yeah.
I love that. Last one for you. If you could go back to a time in your life, where would you go and why? If you would go back.
That is a good question. It's funny. It's such a good question. So if I had to go back in time, it's such a good question. I think it comes down to being present all the time. I've always been present, so I've been happy no matter what. But I guess the life that I've lived, I've done everything I wanted to do. So I'd go back to any time.
Anytime, yeah.
I don't know if you've seen, there's a quote I wish I could go back in time and where someone would tell me, well, these are the good old days. Or something like that.
Yeah.
I wish I could, but I don't know. I don't know, mate. That's a tough question. I guess because I'm so present.
Yeah.
And maybe if I didn't go on this reality show and take a chance on my life and start this academy, I probably could give you a significant answer. Maybe because I'm happy with where I'm going now.
Mate, you're genuinely living your dream.
Yeah.
So it's just I feel the same way. I get that. Sometimes people ask me that question too in return, and I wouldn't go back, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've experienced a lot of amazing things. I've learned a lot of valuable lessons.
Yeah.
But in saying all that, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I love tomorrow. I love today.
Yeah.
I love where my life is heading. That,
for sure.
Despite all the amazing things that I have done and I've gone through and all the painful lessons that I've learned, I don't want to go back.
Yeah, good. Can I ask you a question?
That was one of my. This is actually my last question. Do you have a question for me?
I do. I'll show you a question. You've obviously been open and honest with me in your life. What would you say to your, knowing where you are now, what would you say to your 15-year-old self now?
So you stole my answer. Was I thought about this a lot, and part of the sort of the healing journey with my psychologist and that sort of thing is being honest with that little Elliot that's still inside, right? So I used to, she's like, do you get a lot of anxiety still? I go, yeah, every now and again I sort of get down a little bit. And where does it take you back to? What is it, is it a memory? And I go, yeah, I remember I remember being Elliot when he was 13, being really scared about life in the future and wondering if everything's going to be okay and wondering if I'm going to make it in life, wondering if I'm going to be successful. What am I going to do? I'm not good at anything. Really having so much doubt about my future and really worried about if I'm not going to be playing footy, what am I going to be? Shit, now I've got to make it playing footy because I don't know what else I'm going to be. Wow. So there was so much pressure on me, not externally, but inward pressure. Internally. No one did that to me. Yep. I did that to myself. Yep. That, all right, well, now I know that I'm not smart. These are honest, thought patterns that I had. Okay, I know that I'm not smart, so I know that I can't go to uni or I can't get a real job. So now I'm going to have to put all my eggs in sport. I've had to forgive that side of me and realize that I am smart. All right, I just wasn't interested in the things that I was getting taught at school.
Yeah,
and I had to let go and forgive myself for thinking that I was dumb and I was always putting myself down. So if I could go back to that, 13-year-old Elliot, I would honestly just give him a hug and let him know that everything will be okay, and let him know that you're going to go through some tough lessons. You're going to go through some real bad lows, but keep pushing forward and know that everything will work out fine. But it's hard because those bad times made me who I am today. So I wouldn't want to, I've had a question would you want to erase those difficult times where I was suicidal and really depressed? And it's hard because even though there were terrible times and I was functioning addict and pretty honestly, that made me who I am today.
Yeah.
Even though there were terrible times I put my family through and friends through and broke up relationships and was hurtful to people, and I really look back and go, I'm really embarrassed about that time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Would I take it all back? Would I,
You can't, because that's probably led you here today.
And I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have the outlook I have today.
Resilience. It's made you a better person.
And I don't think, if I erase all those times, I actually don't think this podcast would be in existence. So how could I regret all that led me to this?
For sure. There's another quote that I like. It's don't let your love of learning lead to nothing. Let it lead to action. So,
don't let it be a waste.
Yeah. So I learned a lot about myself, and I started this, and I'm here now, and you've learned from it, and now you're actioning with a pot. You know what I mean? So that's so important. I got this letter here as well.
Thank you, because I was going to remind you too. So go for it.
Yeah. So I got me a HMS class. Shout out to my HMS class, and I set up a task. We're doing the healthy young people, so we're talking about these topics. So that's another thing that I love teaching, is we're talking about real topics. So we're talking about why is suicide so bad for young men. Why is anxiety and depression increase? So I get to have these hard-hitting conversations with kids. And I set them a task, and it was addressed to a man down on his luck. And I chose the best letter. And, you got to read it. And I said, just pour your heart out, and I'll read the best letter. And this young boy wrote this letter. I'm going to read it now.
Yeah, go for it.
And it's for anyone who might be down on their luck and might not be receptive to opening up and share their thoughts and feelings on what they're going through. This is a letter I'm going to read, and hopefully it sort of resonates.
How old is he?
He's only 17.
Only 17.
Yep.
Grade 12 or whatever
Grade 11.
Grade 11. Grade 11. Yeah.
And I was just like, it blew me away. So, okay, here's what he said. I know it's hard. It is for lots of people, and that's not to say you're not different. You are. What's worrying you? Whether you know it or not, it won't last. How can it? Nothing does. Nothing lasts forever. Not happiness, not love, not time, not life, and not sadness. I'd like to say I know what you're feeling if I did, but I don't. I don't think anyone does. Completely anyway. We all feel similar feelings, go through similar events, but no one understands how someone else is feeling. Get your feelings out. Tell people, but eventually you'll have to deal with it yourself. You're not alone, but it's up to you. Dealing it with yourself doesn't mean don't talk to anyone or source help. It just means find a way to love yourself and the people around you. No one's perfect up top, mate. Just some people are better at hiding it. I just want to let you know it's going to pass.
Incredible.
How
good is that?
I was like,
that's amazing.
So I read that to my wife. She's like, that was brilliant. And I said, you're right. He goes, yeah. I said, mate, that's inspiring, mate. That's so thought-provoking. And I love how he said, I don't know what you're going through. He sort of said, but you're going to have to face it yourself. You know what I mean? So anyone who's down on their luck.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on today, man. It's so nice to meet you.
Yep.
But then also get to know you on a more personal level. And I love that the work you're doing. I love your outlook on life. It's very infectious, and I'm sure you're doing, infecting that with the kids and the impact you're having with your kids. And I really appreciate all the knowledge and the conversation we had today, mate. I'd
love to say thank you for allowing me to come on and share my story and you being open with me. And I think that's powerful. A lot of men don't do that. They don't talk about their emotions or feelings. And you are emotionally aware, and this is probably one of the best, most mature conversations I've ever had. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast.